you're a trans man, which I guess means that you were born female. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
Right, good. I'm getting there.
In medical terms, they call it assigned female at birth. So if you see a term where it says AFAB or AMAB, that's what that means. Assigned to either birth or assigned male at birth.
Okay, that's good to know.
Or the other acronyms. So another acronym that you might see in kind of like the trans world would be FTM, which would be someone like myself who's female to male.
Right.
And then the opposite would be MTF, which would be male to female. But that kind of only covers the binary side of trans people. And there is a whole other, group of people who are trans who are also included in that. They don't fit into that binary kind of standpoint.
Okay. So now that we've got that kind of background done, the first thing I'm going to ask you then is when we'll talk about this, the High Court thing first, and then we'll kind of go into, if you don't mind asking about kind of your history and stuff. I hope you don't mind me asking about that. But when that was first announced, I didn't even know it was coming, but when it was first kind of announced, how did that hit you as a person to start?
Well, honestly, ignorance in myself as well, from kind of shielding myself from the news. I didn't know it was coming.
Yeah, no.
And this is and my job that I've just come out of. I worked in the gender services. I worked for an NHS gender clinic. And although I was off, on sick and on notice, I was still in the group chats with people. And when the news hit, everybody was losing their minds, and didn't know where that left people who work in gender. Where does that leave people who are trans, and how they want to go about their lives. I don't think it was the day the ruling came out, but the day afterwards, I cried a lot of the day. And I have ADHD, so I struggle to place where my emotions are and where they come from. And I didn't know why I was crying. I was so upset, and it took a long time of kind of talking out with Kira to realize that it was more the kind of like, it doesn't, there's a lot of things going around about, it might not affect me right now, or this isn't going to be that bad. But when these sort of things happen, it's like a domino effect. And that's what we have seen since then. And it allows people to start tolerating ignorant behavior. And that's when people start tolerating crimes towards people of minorities and things. And it's terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying. And I have what's called like passing privilege, which is a term that means if you were to bump into me on the street, we could come meet each other in the pub and have a pint. And unless I told you, you probably wouldn't know, unless someone outed me. And that is a privilege to pass in society as my chosen gender. And some people don't have that privilege. And maybe that's because they haven't been able to access hormones or medical treatment because there's so many hurdles, or it's so expensive. And sometimes people can't access them because of health reasons, or sometimes people take access to medical treatment and it doesn't work the same way that it is for people. Some people could take testosterone and their voice will never drop and they'll never get facial hair. And those people are still as valid as somebody who has passing privilege. And they're the people that are most scared at the moment, that need a voice spoken for them to say, this isn't right what people are saying. Everybody's got the right to just be, because that's all it is. It's an argument over going to the toilet. I've never
No, but it's insane. Like, I don't. If Bradley came into my toilets, I'm a woman. If Bradley came into my toilets, someone would ring the police.
Yeah.
Someone would ring the police, and people are going to get arrested for reasons they shouldn't even be getting arrested for, because Bradley now doesn't want to go to the toilet because there's a fear of, well, I'm not going to go into the women's. That would be weird. I'm also not going to go into the men's because I'm worried about doing that. So then where does that put me?
Yeah. I think it also almost gives them the right, but the right's not the right word, but gives people the authority, I guess, to question you.
Yeah.
As a person, you could walk into, literally, I could walk into a toilet and somebody could question me, and what am I going to do? Am I, forgive me, I'm going to sound really crass here, but am I just going to pull my trousers down and go, right, look?
The argument, though, how are they going to be able to police that without that kind of intervention? Do you know what I mean? Because what?
And also with that intervention, I've got friends who you could do that exact same test with, and they are still trans, and they would pass by those standards.
Yeah.
Do you know, there's I think people's views of what transition are, well, it seems very transmedicalist to me at the moment, which is a term it's an old term that means like, unless you go through all the surgeries and do everything, you are not trans until you get to this point, which would mean that